do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the flip of I can't, the opposite is I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I can is still about the doing, what I can and cannot do. But then when you take it even a step further and you say it's about being an icon, it is about who you are. So
yes.
that
Amen, sister. Amen. Ah, so good. I mean, I know in my mastermind, we talk about this a lot. We talk about the identity work and the energy work. You know, we have an energy field that extends anywhere from like 5, 15, some people even say 50 feet beyond us. And when we walk into a room, before we're even seen or heard, that is what people pick up on before they even see your face, right? Like that's how important this topic of who we are, the beingness, right? That's how impactful and important it is. So Sarah, can we start here? I've got like a list of questions for you.
okay.
Some people may not know, you know, kind of where this started for you. It didn't, I mean, we all start at birth, right? But we all have these moments along our journey that are defining in our life and that change everything. And can you give us a little snapshot of that story and kind of what happened to, and how long ago that was to compare to where you are now running this Icon Academy and this, you know, you're not only a keynote speaker, but you teach women how to do that themselves. Can you share a little story about where that all started?
100%. Well, I will say that it started very, very young, where I always felt this calling inside of me to have a microphone of some sort. I just always loved it. I thrived on it. I grew up in Utah, but as soon as I, got into my like 18, 19, I was out to Palm Springs, out to California, trying to make it as an actress. Ended up landing a TV show out there, doing all these great things, but it felt a little empty. And I felt like I'm stepping into something I'm really good at. I feel really called to it. I feel like I've got a natural, innate love and ability when it comes to, just a microphone or a screen or a stage. But it felt like I didn't have much substance to what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I actually left it. I ended up going back into the spa world, and I was running a gorgeous spa up here in Park City. I'm now back in Utah, full circle. But I was up at a spa running that, and life was going really good. And so much so that I went on this great hike with a new boyfriend, and we're up at like the top of this lookout spot. And I turned to him, I'm like, gosh, my life is so perfect. This is about 11 years ago. And I just turned to him, I'm like, and in my head, I'm checking all the boxes, right? Good job, good money, good relationship, good. All the boxes getting checked. And it was so good, but I didn't realize how great life could be and how fulfilled life could be, because everything was just super cushy and good. You ever had those experiences where you're like, I'm going to go for exactly what I know I can do, even though it may look like a lot to somebody else? It's like not even stretching me to what I know I can do. That's the land I was living in. Mm-hmm. And so we went on this gorgeous hike. And I never walked back down that mountain. I walked up and I never walked back down. We met up with another couple. We went on this 4-wheeling ride. And at one point, the guys went on up ahead, make sure that the path was clear. The other boyfriend called me and his girlfriend up saying, "You're good," not knowing that Sean, my boyfriend, was coming down the mountain to get us, came around a bend, and we're going at each other full speed. And in order to avoid him, I jerked my handlebars to the right, hit a ditch, went flipping, and this machine landed on me numerous times, breaking my back and paralyzing me from the waist down. I've never walked again since that day on my own. I've done an exoskeleton a couple times, but I've never walked again. I've never felt my toes. I've never moved my knees. I've never peed without a catheter. Mm-hmm. I now have everything in my life got flipped upside down, quite literally and figuratively, in that moment. And it was a long, very hard road. And for the first 4 years, I lived in a really hard land, which was to everybody else, I was smiling and I was such an inspiration and all these things. And then behind closed doors, I was extremely depressed and at times very suicidal, just really not wanting to live anymore. I didn't understand how you could be happy and live with a disability, because frankly, I'd never seen it. I'd never seen anyone happy, healthy, successful, stylish, fun. I'd never seen that. And I just had this story in my head of what I thought life was now going to look like. And it didn't quite line up to the expectation I once had for my life. And I hit the sort of this wall. I called it my mirror moment. It was about 4 years after I was injured. And I really looked in the mirror and I realized I'd become that old story. I had completely become it. That story of what I thought disability was supposed to look like. I was unemployed. I was very unhealthy. I'd gotten very overweight. I was very unhappy. All the things that I thought I was destined for. And I realized kind of in that moment how much power our words had. I was like, well, if that old story can get me there, like, what if I just started flipping the script a little bit and deciding a different way to move or a different way to call myself? And I had something that I did. It was very much on accident, not planned, that completely changed the trajectory of my life and even what I teach now today. And I came up with a name for my blog. I wanted to make a blog and inspire people with stories and all these things. And I came up with the name Vertical Blonde.
So good.
It's so good, right? First of all, like, took me about 6 weeks to come up with the perfect word. Anyone else like kind of struggle with a little bit of perfectionism? Oh my God, if you don't have the right name, like, hallelujah, you were not going to get through life. So I had to come up with the right name, and I just sat on it, played with all these different things. And I finally came up with Vertical Blonde. And by doing so is when I truly went from I can't to icon. I truly started being a different way, because I started saying, like, well, who is Vertical Blonde? She's me at my fullest potential. She is the epitome of using her passion, skills, hardships, trials, everything for her greater good. And I started calling myself Vertical Blonde, and I started becoming vertical. I started having this vertical mindset, started having this vertical way of going through life. Even though I was still seated, even though I was still sitting down, I became so much more vertical than most people that had full use of their bodies. And it was not overnight, right? It took me a while. It took me stepping into different experiences. It took me different growth. I started getting obsessed with personal development, which I think I'm in good company here. If you're anything to do with Moira, right? That, like, we become obsessive. We're like, how else can I grow? What else can I do? If I could do that, what else can I do? And I just started using that as, like, everything just became a stepping stone, more and more and more, or a ramp, whatever you want to call it. But I kept going up, right? I got the wheelchair still, but I thought, I'm going to become a disability icon. I'm going to be happy, healthy, whole, stylish, all those things I thought I never could be. And I'm going to be that visual that other people need to see. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow. And I feel like so many people like want that magical moment. I'm always looking for, like, so what did you do specifically so I can go do that if I want that, shift in my life? And what I just heard Sarah talk about so much was two things. Identity, right? You literally gave yourself a new title, like, talk about a shift in identity. And then how do I live into that title? And then you became obsessed with personal growth. And guys, like, if you really do those two things, you will radically change. And we're always revisiting the identity, right? Like, is this who I'm saying I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to stand for, who I want to be in the world? is that still in alignment? Do I need to tweak it just a little bit? Do I need to change it? And, you know, along the journey, we do have to do that sometimes. Often we have to do it because we're leveled up, right? We become this new person, and that identity that seems so massive and big and untouchable becomes us. And so we have to create the next level and the next level and the next level. And I know in my mastermind group, we talk a lot about the 2.0 version. Like, what does the 2.0 version of us look like? And I think about it all the time, because I always come up with 3 goals for the year. And I spend like 6 weeks figuring out those 3 goals. And then this year I was like, but there's this 4th thing that encompasses, I want to do more ice bath training. I want to commit more to my yoga practice. I want to do more breath work. I want to, you know, I want to take my nutrition and my health and my vitality to another level. And I remember being like, it's Moira 2.0. That's what I'm searching for. It's me 2.0. And so the title, right? That Moira 2.0, that vertical blonde, there's so much power in naming that identity, because you're not thinking about the 18 different things you got to do, because there's so much to that identity, right? But just that little snapshot of vertical blonde, Moira 2.0, makes me instantaneously level up, right? Makes me instantaneously make better choices, make better decisions, and shift, right? It's easier to shift into being something else than doing something else. It's from the being something else that we do something else, right? But we seem to hammer on the doing. And this is what I teach a lot from, you know, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's like we've spent our whole lives, and this is just human nature. We spend our whole lives trying to like drink more water, exercise more, like the habits, right? I love habits. I love habit stacking. I love teaching habits, but the identity is what's under it. When you shift the identity, the habits just effortlessly happen, fall into place. But it's when we're hammering on the habits and we don't work on the identity that the habits never stick, right? So I want to ask you so many questions, but let me look at all the questions. So let me start here. Morning process. I don't believe that every single person, you know, I love a morning process. My audience knows I love a morning process, but it doesn't necessarily, it shouldn't be the same for everybody, right? It should look radically different. I don't believe that you have to have this like tight dialed in morning process in order to be successful in life. But I believe that if you're struggling, it's going to serve you greatly. Do you have any type of morning process that you start your day with?
Always strength training. It's like, I need it right away. And I'm not obsessive over it. Like, it's not like a killer, but I have to do strength training every single morning, first thing. And then the other one is, it's random, but we're going to go a little TMI. So with spinal cord injury, there's some different ways in which you have to get your body going in the beginning of the day. And so a lot of my morning can consist of being in the bathroom and doing the different ways I have to use my body now. We'll just say it that way. But I used to go in there a lot with like my phone and like kind of check out, whatever. And now it's just a lot of, this might sound funny, but daydreaming. I daydream a lot about like, God, where am I going? Like, what is life going to be looking like soon? And where am I headed? And daydreaming of stages and the people that I'm talking to. And I guess you could say it's about getting my energy right. Like the beginning of my day really starts by allowing myself to dream and getting myself in that right energy for that. Because here's the thing, the things I got to do for my body in the morning used to kill me. It used to kill me. And I would lay in bed. This was like pre that 4-year mark. I would lay in bed until the last possible second because I didn't want to face what I had to do first thing in the morning. It was like, I was like death to me. In fact, they have like this special chair that I used to use to like sit on to go to the bathroom, and they call it a commode chair. And I called it like the Death Star. It was like the Death Star for me. It was like, I hated how I had to start my day. And so now if I allow myself to daydream and sort of get into the energy of like, once I get out of this bathroom, it's like game on, right? And I'm just like ready to face the day. And so it might not be something that you hear a lot. I know you hear a lot about like just morning processes. And for me, it's about just getting that energy right. And I think that that's why Moira experienced such a difference in me in that, in the gym, which is also my happy place. That doesn't hurt. But I think that's why my energy is always so good in the morning. Cause it's like everything I'm do is towards my daydreams. I'm always working towards my daydreams.
I love that. And, you know, it's funny how you're saying, like, it sounds silly. For my people, it's no different than your vision, right? You're reading your vision, you're reading the dreams, you're reading the goals, and you're seeing that. And I just had a guest speaker on a call a week or two ago, and I got on a call with him afterwards to go deeper. And he uses the word fantasize. He's like, the most important thing you can do when you wake up, like his morning process is breath work, lots of water, get yourself into like a non-emotional state, and then literally fantasize as much as you can. And he's like, I know fantasize sometimes might seem a little like, a little like crossing the line, but he's like, but that's what I'm asking you to do, is to fantasize, is to daydream, is to visualize your wildest dreams, and to shift into the energy of expectation, of wonder, of curiosity, of what's coming forward in your life. That is absolutely the most powerful thing you can do first thing in the morning. And of course, Sarah's already doing it. Like, of course she is. That's why you have the energy you have. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Have you gone to any, so this was a different question, a little bit different, which I'm curious about. Have you gone to any personal development seminars or growth seminars that have just like been life-changing or really powerful for you?
Oh my God. How much time we got? My story of my first Tony Robbins is my favorite story ever. First of all, how I even got the money for the ticket. I was at the beach and there was a guy on like a motorized, it was like a wheelchair Segway. So he's on this like Segway wheelchair and like showing it off at the beach, and randomly runs into the back of me, sends me flying out of my wheelchair. He happens to be a rep for the company. And it messed up my shoulder, not horribly, but I got a nice check out of it. My shoulder's fine now. Like, we got some physical therapy. And guess what I did? I bought 2 tickets to Tony Robbins. And I was so excited because at that point, I'd never been able to afford one. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's all I want, all I want. Couldn't find a single friend to go with me. I was like, you don't understand. So I'm going to sum this up, but I think there's so many learning points to this one event. So I'm so excited. I get there so early for the event itself that I'm first in line. You guys been to a Tony event? The line to check in is like out and around the block, miles long. I am so excited. I'm first in line to get there. I'm like, open, 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 right? Can't wait. So they're like getting ready to let people in. And the one girl, I'll never forget all their their names. We've got Athena's checking me in. She introduces me to this guy, Steve. She says, Steve, why don't you go show Sarah where her seat is? Everyone knows by name at that point because I'm like the raving fan outside. Go show her to her seat. So Steve takes me in and he's so excited. It's an 8,000 people arena in Dallas. And the accessibility seating is up and around the very top ledge. And I had bought like a better ticket so that I would be a little bit closer. And yet the only place I can sit is the top ledge or the floor, right? Floor seats are pretty pricey. So he showed me and he's so proud. He's like, look, you can see everything. And I said, yeah, but Steve, I can't feel it. Like, I need to feel the energy and I'm up detached. And he's thinking I'm kind of like a brat at this point. I don't know, but now we're good friends. But I was like, Steve, like, what else can you do? And he's like, well, I can't really do anything. Those other seats, they're really expensive. And here's the kicker, guys. You ask how. I said, well, how can I get to the floor? And I look at his badge. You can tell he's been to quite a few events. I was like, you know your way around this place. How do I get down to the floor? He's like, I'm not promising you anything, but I want to introduce you to somebody. And he brings up this woman. Her name's Nyla Medlock. She's now passed away. And she and I just have an instant connection. And she comes up to me and she pokes me on the forehead. She says, this entire weekend, I want you to stay out of there. And pokes me again. I'm like, what is happening? And she says, I want you to play full out from your heart. And if you do, it will always be inside of you. I was like, oh, I will. I'm just like mesmerized, like, Nyla, give it to all to me. Like, what else do I need to know? You know, she shows me a picture of her and Tony from like 84. He's all tall and gangly. She's got the crazy 80s hair. She's been around the block for a while. And she says, I want to invite you down to the floor to be my guest. I was like, oh my God, it's my energy, you guys. And she told me afterwards, she says, I knew you were invested. I knew it by your energy. Takes me down to the floor. The story it just keeps getting better. Takes me down to the floor, introduces me to Brian. If you can tell, I remember people's names and I call them out all the time, you guys. Introduces me to Brian. She says, Brian, this is Sarah. Brian's the stage or the floor manager. Sarah can sit wherever she wants. Sarah, where do you want to sit? I said, I want to touch the stage. Ask for what you want, ladies. Ask for what you want. I said, I want to touch the stage. So I went up there, takes the chair out, puts a big white X on the ground, says, this is your spot. If anyone's on this X, you come tell me and I will make sure they move. I held on to that stage for 4 days straight. I did not let go. Okay. I went from the back of the room of 8,000 people, couldn't get any further away from the stage, to holding it for 4 days straight. Gets better. So because I am losing my mind at this personal development event, because I listened to Nyla, I played full out from my heart. I am sobbing, I'm crying, I'm dancing bigger than everybody else. The camera pans on me a million times. They're just like loving this. They're like, she's great content because she is out of her dang mind. I just went so full out. From that, about 4 weeks after the event, I get a Facebook message from a girl. She says, oh my gosh, I have been searching for you. I watched you all those days at UPW, losing your mind. I am the ghostwriter for a celebrity book, and I want to feature your story. She ends up being the writer for Patricia Heaton's book, Your Second Act. Me and Patricia meet. My story gets in the book. Me and Patricia are now good friends. She sent me a kintsugi kit, which is the Japanese art form for filling the cracks with gold. Sends me this kit and she just says, don't ever forget you are kintsugi. You have a way of filling cracks with gold. So that came from that, as well as a million other stories. I ended up dancing so big at one point, I fell out of my wheelchair. I got to go then backstage and get a massage from Tony's massage therapist at the event. Like so many beautiful things. So yes, I am a fan of personal development events. And that one was my first. I could have been crying that I got hit by a wheelchair, or I could have said, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to ask for what I want. I'm going to remember people's names, and I'm going to use my energy to go from the back of the room to touching the stage. I love it.
So amazing. I've never heard that story. That's so awesome. I mean, and that's just it. You know, Tony was my most life-changing for the first UPW I went to. I was never the same, but only because I played full out. You know, there's 7,999 other people in the room that maybe their life wasn't changed as much. We know for a fact that there's hundreds, if not thousands of people in that room that are just kind of there, right? It's up to you to, you know, take it all in and do the work. And as Tony always says, play full out. Play full out. You know, you can be on a call, on a training call, in a mastermind that it changes your entire life, or it does nothing. You know, so often we're looking towards others to change us. Like, I'm going to buy this ticket and I'm going to go to Tony Robbins and hopefully he's going to wave the magic wand and everything's going to be different. It's a two-way street, right? It is absolutely a two-way street. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Okay. Quick question here, a little bit of a pivot, and we'll wrap in the next 5 because I want to respect your time. But for women starting a new business, What would be your like top 2 or 3 tips for somebody starting out in a new business?
Okay. I think, and one of them is a little bit more recent that I've learned. Make the main thing the main thing.
Amen.
Make the main thing the main thing. I wanted to do it all because I was so worried about missing out on a lottery ticket over there, even though it had nothing to do with what I was truly focused on, right? And allow the main thing to pivot and grow as you do. That is kind of the follow-up to that. I think I've held on to a lot of things and parts of my business just for sake of I've always done it, or that's where it's always done, for way too long. So don't be afraid to actually give yourself full permission to let go of what is no longer in alignment or serving. That could be ways of thinking, habits, things you're putting your business into, people, relationships, like allow all of that to pivot. And then last but not least is your business will be 100% developed on the relationships you have. Get really good at relationships and do it from a really authentic place. Not what do they have for me? I got to be their friend, but genuinely have a care for people. Anytime I go speak, I don't give myself any time limit for when I got to get out of there. I will stand and talk in line as long as I need to. I'm obviously respectful of the next person in line, right? Like make sure that you know how to have boundaries and wrap a conversation as necessary, but make sure that like you are really seeing people that are possible connections, are possible clients, are possible friends that can just are going in the same direction you are. And then it's never about using each other in a negative way. It's about using each other in a really empowered way and actually leaning on each other. So those would be my 3 tips.
That is so good. That's literally gold. So good. So good. Okay. Last question. What are some things that you do to enhance your confidence? 2 parts. And you kind of answered the second part. How do you keep your energy up? I'm really curious of the current, because there's work that we do that changes the trajectory, right? But then how do you maintain that? How do you keep your confidence up? How do you keep your energy up?
Okay, you guys ready for this?
Yes.
Confidence is an action word. It only comes from the doing. If you are feeling not confident, it's because you are sitting in stalemate for way too long. You have to get moving. So confidence is an action word. It will only come from the doing. And just always remember that all energy has momentum. So your own energy has momentum. If I am in a low, lazy, sad energy, it's going to pick up pace. It's going to get more of that. But on the flip side, if I always say that like my highest value in life is obnoxious optimism. I will find the bright side in anything. Like, don't even test me. I will find it. No worries. So I am always trying to find where's the opportunity in any situation. And that I feel like gives me a ton of momentum. But the confidence, it's like, again, you kind of always want to know your direction, but not be afraid to pivot on how to get there. Right. And so for me, it comes back to that identity thing. So it's like, what would Vertical Blonde be doing? And you really nailed this in the beginning there, Moira, where it was, it becomes your true north. Like, what would she be eating? How would she be spending her free time? Who would she be talking to? If the conversation goes negative, how would she pivot? And it's tapping into that version of yourself, not from a mask, but from like I got to tap into her, right? I got to tap into that version of myself. How would she be moving, acting, being, all of that? So that's what's going to give you the most momentum in that positive direction. I'm so big on you are who you hang out with. And I don't know that I really have to tell that so much to this group, but I bet there's a few people in your life that you are giving your energy to that might need to be let go, and not let go from a negative, sad, like I'm cutting you off, but you're going to let go of that expectation that it's going to be something that it's not. Because I think that's the most draining on our energy, is when we really were like, but I see their potential. I did this all the time. My coaching really began, I started working with women only with physical disabilities on their fitness. That was like my lane. That's what I was sticking in. And I saw so much potential, and they refused to see it for themselves. Not all of them, but I would say the majority. Mm-hmm. And so there has to be that willingness. There has to be that like desire to see things differently, to move in a different direction. Then we can do this together, right? We're not all perfect. We're all learning, but the desire and the willingness has to be there. And if it's not, they just may not need to get as much of your time, because that is an energy sucker, right?
Yeah.
That is an energy sucker.
Absolutely.
Good. I'm glad Jesse needed to hear this one today.
Yeah. And I totally agree that I love that you said, like, it's not I'm cutting you out of my life and I'm telling you that, often relationships are just being intentional of less time, right? Not, where normally you might be making plans with this person. Maybe you're busy this weekend. Maybe it's going into, because I know that family can be the biggest for all of us, right? Maybe it's before you go to spend time with that family member, giving yourself a boundary of, oh, I've only got an hour. I'm going to pop in. I'm going to say hello. But that little pivot to, I'm going to spend an hour versus we're going to spend all afternoon like we always do, and it's going to just suck everything out of me. Those little tiny shifts are going to make a huge difference in your life. Huge. But it really is a great exercise to simply ask yourself the question. And I'm a big believer in the written word. Who takes my energy and who gives me energy? Just that simple divide, right? Of who gives me energy, who takes my energy. And we need to be intentional. And I think this is where people miss it sometimes. We need to be intentional and put work and effort into spending time with the people that give us more energy, right? Picking up the phone. Hey, do you want to have lunch this week? Hey, do you want to get together? Can we hop on the phone? You have to put energy into facilitating those relationships if you want more of those good energy people, for sure.
Well, and it comes back to ownership. Don't you agree? Yeah. Of like, take ownership. I think that there's so much gab of like, cut out the toxic people. And it's like, people aren't toxic. It's how we're behaving, right? That's the toxicity. Well, we got to take ownership on that. Mm-hmm. What's our part in that? How are we adding to the conversation? There's one person in my life, it's like she loves to talk about her physical ailments. Always, it's like, what's going on in the body? What's going on in the body? But what did I used to do? I didn't know how to connect with her, so I talked about my physical ailments. And before you know it, we both feel even crappier because all we did was talk about how crappy we feel. But like, give yourself that permission. Give yourself that permission to say, I'm going to change the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up different. What if I geared the conversation in a different way?
Yeah.
What if I started talking about how good I felt? What if I started talking about all the things I loved about this person? That's going to get magnified.
Absolutely. And that's hard to do at first. It's a completely new behavior, right? Like, I've had to do that the most with my mom, who's always talking negative, and when I first started to deal with that, instead of just let it consume me, I dealt with it not in a very good way, just like, I can't live with this. But then I started to deal with it where now it's just a turning of the ship a little bit, it's yeah, I totally see what you're saying, but have you thought about it this way? Or it's just bringing light into that darkness. I was actually with a big group of people recently, and they were laughing about this, but they were speaking about how this one person was a little overboard with what they were doing for their job. Can't go into details, but I really honestly saw it. I was like, but if you were employing him, he's doing like the best job ever. Like, I know he's going way overboard, but I'm like, guys, but if you look at it from the other perspective, like, I would be thrilled that that's how that person was showing up in their role. And they were like, oh, I never thought about that. And it wasn't like I was coming at them with it. I was kind of like lightheartedly, like offering my opinion, but it just shifted the whole tone of the entire group, escalating the negativity. And so you kind of have to learn to show up sometimes, even with humor in those situations, just to turn that ship a little bit. Yeah.
Love it.
Sarah, thank you. I cannot wait to be with you in a month. I'm so excited to see you. Uh-oh, we just froze? Maybe she'll come back. Hang on. We'll let her come back. You guys, do you have any last minute questions before we wrap up? Anything that we didn't get to? I know a bunch of you guys turned in questions and let me go. Oh, there you are, Sarah, you're back.
I know I froze right at the thank you.
That's okay. We were just going on. I was just asking for last questions, but truly, you are such a light. You are such a love. I mean, your heart is giant. And like I said in the beginning, I feel so incredibly blessed to know you. I feel so blessed that we had your time this afternoon and so excited for you to deep dive with my mastermind.
Oh, I am just so honored. If you can't tell, this is the stuff that lights me up. I could talk all day long, and I typically do. So I really would love to connect with you guys as well. Please find me on Instagram. If you can't tell, it's Vertical Blonde. Pretty easy to find. But my favorite is hearing directly from you guys of what stood out the most. What did you need to hear? Send me a DM. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. And if you feel called, there is an event I'm hosting in October 6th and 7th. The 6th is VIP, and I think we have one, maybe two tickets left if they haven't gotten snagged today. That is going to be here in Salt Lake City, October 6th and 7th. It's going to light your world on fire. It's I'm calling it personal development meets LA Fashion Week. Just crazy high energy, so much fun. You've never seen personal development done this way. It's going to be sexy. We'll just say that. So yeah, I'm making my old self proud that was laying in that hospital bed thinking there's no way she could ever be sexy again and feel good in her skin. This is that kind of event. So I would love to give you full permission to just enjoy life, step into your iconic identity, name her if you have not already, and drop me a line with what that name is and what it represents to you.
I love that so much, so much. Yes, you guys, truly, I know Sarah means this when she says it, like message her when you get off this call on Instagram. She wants to hear from you. I want to thank you for your energy today. Like seeing all the nods and the smiles and the energy and just your presence has been such a gift. If you guys have any questions for me, I know Rebecca said what type of event that you'll be together at. So if you want to message me about the mastermind that we're going to be together at with Sarah in September in the most beautiful place in all the land, Sundance, Utah. I mean, especially in September, it really is like one of the most magical places on earth. So feel free to message me about that. And Sarah, again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Baby. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.